Ooh.
Coming to you live on the Government Access Channel from Mario Bagnoni Chambers in beautiful downtown Erie. It's the Taxpayers Hotline Show with your hosts, Kaz Kwiatkowski and John Steiner.
And should we give a shout to our coal mining buddy, or no, our silver mining buddy?
Yeah, out there in the Colorado area. Yeah, absolutely. I think they tune in out there.
Yep. He's probably tuning in. So how you doing, John?
Pretty good, Kaz. You getting ready for Christmas?
Are you ever ready for Christmas?
No. Have you started Christmas shopping?
No.
Me neither.
I'm a procrastinator.
Yeah, I mean, I dread Black Friday. I hate lines. I hate traffic.
I need the pressure.
You're a deadline kind of guy.
Yeah, then when I go in there, I got a plan.
Yeah.
One aisle, down the other.
That's right.
But I got a preconceived idea what I want.
You know, you got to go in there with an idea. You got focus. You get what you need, and you get out.
If not that, you get the internet, right?
Absolutely. I try not to do that, though.
I do too, but it's getting to be that.
Yeah, I mean, the mall traffic this time of year is. I try to shop locally as much.
Is it as wild as it used to be?
Oh yeah.
It's not as bad as it used to be, though.
It's bad enough that I don't like going up there. I mean, I try to stay away I try to shop locally, like the Walmarts of the world and stuff. I think it's sure you can get stuff there and it's cheap, but it's kind of has its negative effects on an economy too. I remember when they built this Walmart in, brought the one on Elm Street in. That was a while ago. Remember that?
Yeah.
And they have an adverse effect in the economy. But I mean, you can get a 55-inch big screen for like $250. So, weighs, pros and cons of everything. But I see you guys got the Christmas tree on out there.
We should put our lights on here.
You guys do need some lighting. You guys need to.
You want the lights on?
No. Do you have lights on here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why aren't they on? That's Mike.
What? That's our engineer.
You got to have some festivities going on. Are you going to sing like Christmas carols today too? No. We don't want to do that?
My voice is...
Your voice, you're the songbird of this generation from what I heard.
No Pavarotti.
No?
And definitely no Bocelli.
No? You're Kazatowski.
No Andrea Bocelli or Luciano Pavarotti.
You can sing tenor.
10 or 15 miles away.
Yeah, 10 or 15 miles down the street. Or you can sing a solo. Solo, we can't hear you.
Or sing way down by the riverside.
That's
way down.
Look at that. Man, that looks a lot better, Kaz.
So what do you think?
I don't know, Kaz. I see you guys are sitting at this table. You got this table set up. It looks like the Browns draft room in here.
Yeah, we have another budget session tonight.
Oh, yeah?
This is the worst one I've ever been in as far as challenging.
Well, you got a mighty large gap to fill there, and I see you guys are taking notes over there.
Yeah, a lot of them are going to be our future endeavors within the coming year.
Yeah.
But the reality of this year is it's pretty gruesome.
All right. Oh, I see. One of the things, number 4. Totally agree with number 4. Can you read that from here?
Yeah, I can read it.
That's a no-brainer right there.
That'll bring up some comments.
Yeah, well.
Go ahead, caller. You're on.
Kaz, I'm very glad you're involved in the tax.
Can you turn your TV down?
Oh, that's what I have to do.
Yeah, because we got a delay on there, and you're.
Okay, I think I got it down.
Yeah, when I did, when I was missing the council meeting that time, I was on the phone. I was doing the same thing.
I'm glad you're so involved in this tax problem, increases and so forth. You and Liz Allen, does anybody else have anything to say? I watched one episode here last week, and Sonia Arrington and Witherspoon or City. I've never heard them. I've watched several of them. Never said a word or whatever. Every once in a while, I see them whisper to each other and giggle and chuckle. And I never seen Winarski say a word. You know, I'm so glad that you and Liz Allen are up to smarts and doing something. But my idea is not to raise garbage fees, not to raise sewer fees. Isn't that the same thing as raising taxes? Wouldn't it be better to save taxes, at least taxes that people could take off their income tax?
Well, tonight we're going to discuss whether we eliminate one fee or both fees. The trouble is the mayor did not have an appetite to raise real estate, and I don't know if the majority of council does. You're right about one thing. The new tax laws are getting tough, but I think you can still take off real estate and income tax on if you itemize. It's not as easy, but the trouble is there's no easy solution. But going forward, we can't do business as usual anymore. If you watched the newspaper the other day, we lost population again.
Again?
Yeah.
Wow.
So which would you find less offensive, the income or the real estate? Are you still there?
Oh, what I find less. What do you mean? Raise the city workers' income tax?
Well, to get the kind of money we need, there's only two ways you can go, and that's going to be the income tax or the real estate tax.
Well, the city income tax should be something. Let everybody pay the same. Except, how about? You're always concerned about the elderly citizens,
Yeah.
their homes, and so forth. Let's everybody pay. Make it even.
Yeah, the income tax, the only problem we got this year, we're going to try to correct it in the future, is that this year it's only going to affect people that work in the city. That live in the city and work somewhere. It won't affect the elderly or the retired as much, but it's not a pretty budget. And, next year we got, I'm just warning everybody, it's the same decision next year.
I like that.
And we're going to have the same problem again next year.
Yeah, I like the income tax myself also, even though I'm
You
going to
do?
be paying more, but because a lot of the people that work in the city, they live in the county.
Right.
And then they come here and they use our services and,
But you realize that the people that work on the county,
yeah,
that live on the county, are not going to be paying it this year.
why?
That's the bad part about the law.
Oh, man.
But we're gonna take, there is some ideas how we can, correct that.
Yeah, that's,
Because right now, that's what I didn't like about the income tax was, it only has an effect on people who live in the city.
every city has to have services
It's a state law though.
for homeless and mentally ill and, libraries and convention centers and all that. And those are in the urban cores. And people want that as far as
Yeah.
a living, part of, as a living community, but they don't want to pay for it.
No, the trouble is the regular income tax goes back where they live.
Yeah,
And it still will. It's
Right.
only the part above 1%.
right. So this year, would it start next year if you did the income tax, or how would that
It
work?
would start this year, but it won't, because of the way, it's complicated to explain it. I could do it. It's going to
Yeah.
take about
No.
15 minutes, but
No, give me the 30-second.
we're going to work on next year solving the problem where it will take in county people too.
Right.
Did anyone
Go ahead, sir.
realize that our past mayor would leave us in such a financial distress? And don't tell me I know he did all of these things and he increased everything, cut everything, but he still left us in a bind here. Do you agree?
Why he had his unique way of doing things, and now it's coming back to, he tried his best to defer it, and I think now we got a problem where, the bond payments that we deferred and everything are now coming to roost. So I think going forward, what we have to do from now on is quit being nice at campaign time, because we don't want to raise taxes or something, when it's an election year. I think most people understand that, just like you do that. Every year utilities go up or something goes up. We probably should be raising taxes very slightly every year.
Well, that's,
Just to take into,
tax increases and raises in salary, like, state guys did it. They got to raise the state legislators.
but long term, we gotta bring all these things under control a little bit. I don't know how you do it,
Yeah,
but
well,
it's gonna eat us up in the future.
don't you guys have, did I see in the newspaper that in 2024, there's something like that we're going to be $25 million under budget or something like that?
Well, every year it's gonna get worse until,
Yeah, I thought I read that somewhere. So we have major,
well, you're still there, right, sir?
Yes.
It's very simple. You got,
And I'll get out, please.
sure, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I think Winarski said something about cutting services. Please don't cut services. Okay? That's the last thing you want to do.
Well, yeah, that's all we offer you, really. I mean, the difference between the city and the county is we plow your street, we patch it, we pick up your garbage, we provide police and fire. That's our problem. How do we deliver that at a good cost, But I don't agree with, cutting back is, that's a hard one.
yeah.
It sure is. Okay, keep up the good work. Thank you.
We'll try. But, looking forward, John, here's the problem. You got a city that they just announced is 99,000 going down. County's going down itself too, which tells you this whole area is going down.
Could you imagine if we didn't, we weren't a city that accepted the immigration, the immigrants, how low we'd be, how drastic?
But then that has its points too, though.
It's pros and cons. Go ahead, caller.
You can't cut services, especially like the fire department, because look at the trouble they're having in Mill Creek now, and all the surrounding communities. They can't get anybody to do the fire work, for one, so you can't cut there. They're going to be hiring people out there or paying for it out in the county. You watch.
Yeah, well, you know what might happen, and I think this would be a real leap of faith, but I can see the day when, if we could put our political differences aside, no, I mean, if you decide who wants to be chief and all that, and just get rid of the crap and form a public safety commission.
You need a countywide
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
fire department.
But form a commission, public safety,
Yeah.
made up of independent business people.
Yeah,
And you know what? Talk about merging services like that.
yeah,
Because I think, like this gentleman said, it would make sense.
yeah, for sure. I mean, now, Mill Creek, their taxes are going to go real
And
quick.
so are ours. So doesn't
Yeah.
it make sense that we could share firehouses and equipment?
Well, I mean, technically, there was talk about a countywide fire department because, like the caller said, and we've talked about it before,
Well, think of this.
they're already paying some of the guys
You
out
would
there.
have about if you included Erie, Harbor Creek, Mill Creek Summit, just Erie Mill Creek's about 160,000,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
So, I mean, you would have a huge tax base to disseminate that cost.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, well, the other thing, we talk about all the time, you got all these people who owe money for traffic tickets and sewer bills.
Right.
I was in the paper the other day. We got to start collecting that money.
Well,
I mean, you got to get on these people and pay up like the rest of us pay.
Well, we took care of the garbage. That's actually, that's being administered. What we did do now with the parking is we met with two companies that were discussing the best approach to how we can collect some of the old money and how best to approach it in the future. And we got some good ideas, so it's not like it's standing on, it's not like it's on the back burner or anything.
Well,
We are taking, council wants this to happen because, and you know what, I'm not taking credit, but I was one of the people that have been yelling at it because when I worked at the parking ramp, I knew how many cars were like that. So, it's time we go after those parking tickets.
Well, I heard, I have some friends that are in law enforcement, and I went to lunch with them the other day, and they were telling me that within the court systems in the city, there are over 10,000 warrants that have been issued that are just sitting there. Over 10,000 warrants.
So what are we doing?
I don't know.
Go ahead. You got a point there, sir. Go ahead.
The last thing I was to say, these nonprofits like Mercier's, Gannon,
Yeah.
the Hammett and Vincent pay half their tax bill, right?
Yep.
Okay. Now the ones that don't pay, all the property owners pay with their houses and that, but the businesses that don't pay, nonprofits, all these, the fire and or a public safety fee, $500 or $1,000, whatever you guys come up with, that would be to use the snow plows, the cops, the fire. It's going to be a safety fee, not a tax. We call it a safety fee.
Well, you're talking what I talk about all the time, and we did instruct. I don't know if Mike can. There's a chart on the wall here. John can see it. That there's all kinds of on the second page is the public safety fee. We are going to have our solicitor explore the legality of how we could charge it, either by square footage or whatever, and check whether we can do it legally under state law. But I agree with you that has to happen.
That's the only way you're going to get around. We got too many nonprofits in the city, over 40%, and the homeowners are always getting stuck with all this.
Well, we joke, we call it the burnt popcorn. We send a truck up to the colleges if they burn popcorn in a microwave. And so we did talk about not only a public safety fee, but false alarm fees and things like, every time we roll our equipment, we can't be as nice as the past because it's our people paying for it,
Mercier's just put up a $25 million building.
Yep, you're right. I saw it.
Gannon has a $100 million endowment.
It's over $40,000 a year for these students if you live there. So they're not hurting for money up there.
No, then there's a wild rumor they want to close one of the streets down.
Yeah, you're talking about that. Yeah.
I said, you know what? I realized when I went to college, another fee was not going to. I was going to school one way or the other, and I was paying fees to go to basketball games or things I didn't go to, and they charge you that. So I mean, a fee on every student or a fee on the college.
Right.
That's all they got to do is close Briggs down, and there's houses up above on Briggs.
Yeah, and then what are they going to do, right?
That's going to cut the fire in the cop response to get up there, But you got to put a stop to that kind of stuff too. Okay, guys, I'll talk to you later.
Yep. I wish that gentleman could see the list we got there, but that's only like one page.
You want me to read some of it?
But it's everything we're gonna in the coming year that we're gonna start pressing to look at.
So that's public knowledge, right? I mean, you guys that was
Oh, that was on it was like, you got on there, the
reality transfer tax
realty transfer tax.
or realty?
Yeah,
Okay.
we don't know if we could raise that. That's, that might be a state or county.
What LST tax?
That's that used to be the privilege to work tax.
Privilege to work.
It's kind of like a public safety fee now,
yeah.
but it's $52 a year. Everybody pays it.
Right.
Then you got the parking tax, with the parking lots.
Right.
Amusement tax, that's one you read,
That's the one and back up to 5%. That's a check.
right?
Sure.
Then there's, the next one is, when we take out building permits, how do we verify the true value of the project?
I was thinking that when that's what was going in my head when he brought up the $25 million.
Yeah.
For that, I'm wondering if they pay the building fees and all the requirements
that's
the same as any other development.
Well, I was told today, like, hey, the Civic Center doesn't have to take out building permits because they're a state agency. Technically,
Yeah.
they're not like John Horan, a local, what do you call it?
Local authority.
Yeah, they have to pay, but state authorities don't, and that's how they got the Civic Center, right?
Yeah.
And then-
Maybe you should have a sliding scale as to the total amount the project is going to be. I mean, or something like that. They did that for LERTA, and then what else did they do that for? Sliding scale. Yeah. For LERTA, and there was something else that was a good idea too.
Then you got on there mechanical devices.
Like what?
Well, that would be like pop machines, cigarette machines,
Tax them?
vending machine, games, electronic games, all that.
How about like New York City, and then they do soda tax, and that taxes on soda.
I don't know if we can do that. Philadelphia does because they're a city of first class. And it didn't play well.
I mean, if Philly can do it, then it has to be state.
You know what they did in Philly? They had signs when you come into the city.
Uh-huh.
It was like the old sign, last chance to fix your flat, last gas for 30 miles. They had signs, last chance to buy your
2 liter?
your soda.
Your 32 ounce
We call
pickups.
pop, they call it soda.
Yeah.
Last chance to pick up your soda, tax-free.
Last chance to get your 32 ounce? See, that's my problem. I like soda.
But they had a joke there, last chance before the taxes kick in. And then you had vendor license, those are like people that do business in the city, plumbing licenses, all that.
Isn't that,
But there's more on that list too, though.
yeah, I mean, what else is on that list?
Well, none of them are gonna solve the problem,
No, I
but
mean,
altogether, there's an old saying, you ever hear it? A dollar here, a dollar there, pretty soon you're talking big money.
well, when it comes to budgeting, you either, you gotta do line items, you're doing it the right way. I mean, you do your line item cuts, you do your across-the-board cuts.
In fairness to everybody here, we call below the line items, okay? That means non-wage
Yeah.
and benefit.
I mean, people don't realize that,
Everybody here in City Hall cut.
people don't realize you're locked into like, what is it, 80% of the budget, or what is it?
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. If you looked at the budget, the bottom half,
Yeah,
which is where we call it the paper clips and
yeah.
the supplies.
Supplies.
Everybody, that was cut across the board.
Where you look to save money, is that kind of stuff, or your professional services and different areas like that? That's where you get that's where you get a chunk where you
Well,
can
you have to be
make.
careful, see, because some departments, they can't, like our solicitor, they
Yeah.
actually have to hire lawyers once in a while.
Well, that's a little different. I mean,
But I mean, you don't know what that is. When I was in the controller's office, I may have had to hire auditors, okay, to do studies. So, once again, you had to,
I hate that word.
what?
Studies.
Well, I don't mean study, but I mean, let's say you wanted a performance audit, and you needed somebody with a specialty in that field.
Yeah.
So you would, you could bring them in to do, or have your auditor look at specific things while they're at it, maybe at a slight, increase in cost.
Well, you know what the county did for their budget? They were having budget issues. So they contact Joe Maloney is his name, and he was there. I don't know if he was a finance director for.
Yeah, he used to be, wasn't
he? Yeah, he was for the council.
Yeah.
So they were having problems with the budget, and they didn't want to raise taxes, but they had to. So he's retired. So they said, Joe, we need, come back in and, we'll pay you and, help us, get this together. I mean, the guy came and I was at the meeting. I mean, he was like, well, you can't do this, you can't do that, boom, 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 boom. Do you guys have that? Does city council have
They
something?
did one time.
Did they?
Yeah, they hired, back when I was controller, as controller, I can't take sides. I have
Right.
to be independent.
Right,
They were in disagreement with the then finance director,
right.
so they hired their own,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of worked with them, providing them documents that was requested by council,
Right.
but I couldn't, because you're independently elected, you can't favor
Well, I mean-
the mayor, or you can't favor council.
Like,
You represent the people, actually.
yeah, they pay this guy to come in.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, you may pay him $100 an hour.
Well, it's good because obviously,
Yeah.
I'm not casting disparity,
Yeah,
but, the people that work under the mayor, they have to answer to him.
yeah,
So they might not be as willing to talk.
yeah.
So that's why councils hire their own solicitor sometimes, or their own advisor, like
That's
financial.
that's where you need to make cuts, like stuff like that. But in the instance with Maloney with the county, he, you may pay him $1,000 to come and do this and do that, but you spend a little money, then he goes in there and he saves you a lot of money.
If you can find it,
Yeah, and he was fine. I mean, I was kind of impressed. I mean, the way the numbers that were being back and forth, and he was like, we can't do this. I recommend doing this, and I'm sitting there going, that does make sense. And I mean,
Trying to find somebody with experience, government accounting is different.
they can't find anybody.
Well, it's not a business. It's not like business.
Right.
You can do things. I used to joke, I was involved in 3 types of accounting. The military, the private sector and government. They were all different.
Yeah.
You know, the approach to how you solve problems was different.
Right.
It's like when you get into government, you have fund accounting. That's a whole different concept to a lot of people. But then you have legalities, what you can and can't do. You know, what might be a good practice in business sounds good in
People have to realize that when these, let's say everybody's like, reduce fire, but when it goes to arbitration, you guys get your butts handed to you in arbitration.
Well,
Every time.
Nobody's casting dirt on our public safety or any of our employees.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is we're going to have some, I don't know, some harsh decisions where to come up with money in the next 2 to 3 years also.
Yeah. I mean,
And it comes down to the fact that, especially, and I'll say this, here's one thing they could solve. If you want to live outside the city, that's fine. I don't like the idea, but there's got to be a return on some of those taxes back to the city.
well, that's where
somewhere.
that's where the earned income. I think these, I spoke to,
But see, right now, under the present law, if you did nothing more than charge the 1%, that's the basic tax. Not the extra tax we charge or we're going to charge. You know how that works? Okay, you pay where you work. Let's say, John, you live in the city, right?
yeah,
But you work at the Mill Creek Mall.
right,
So whoever you work for takes out the taxes. Now, Berkheimer is the way the state did things now, Berkheimer represents the whole county.
right,
So Berkheimer gets the money from Mill Creek, and he looks at where you live, he's got a computer, and that money gets returned to the city of Erie.
okay,
And then it gets split between the school board and the city.
right,
So it's the same thing if, like, our workers that live outside the city, we collect the money, but then it goes back.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay,
So the only thing we get to keep is the part that's over the 1% right now.
okay,
But that has to go in the pension, okay? And that does not get split with the school district. But then if we charge a little bit more like we're talking about, that's the one right now that we can only charge the city residents presently, okay? It doesn't get split with the school district,
so if somebody
but we
lives,
can't levy it on people that don't live in the city.
so if somebody lives in Mill Creek, comes in and works in Hammett, we can't increase their income tax, but if somebody that lives in the city
We can.
and works up at Lecom, we can. So we screw the city people again and
Well-
not the county people,
Here, real quick, here's, 1% is 0.01,
right,
okay? Or if you want to call it 1.0%,
right.
but I like it mathematically,
Yeah,
0.01.
that's 0.1, I like
Okay,
it.
so then what we charge is 0.01, this is the extra portion. Okay, 1/8,
Okay,
0018 added on to the 0.01.
okay,
So this one gets split, this one does not get split, and this one we can charge on everybody right now. Everybody, regardless of where you live.
what if you raise it up to 1.2?
Well, now that's the problem. This one stays the same, but let's say we raise it up to 0.0170 or something.
Yeah.
1.7, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you got three components. This component, that component, the extra component. So the extra component, above the 0018, that's the part that we can only tax on city people then.
But isn't that, how much, is that so low?
But I mean, that would be,
Peanuts.
it would bring quite a bit of money in,
How
but
much would it generate?
what are they?
Estimate off the top of your head.
Should have brought my numbers.
I mean, yeah, just.
It's
an
going to be
estimate.
sizable. It's going to be like a couple million or so.
Oh, okay, oh, really?
But what they were going to do was, now we're looking at how we can, change that legally,
Yeah.
so we can charge people from outside the city.
That is what you need. People want services. They want, every community has to have them. Harbor Creek, Mill Creek, Summit. They don't want the homeless shelters there. They don't want the battered women's, the victims.
No, here's our problem. Here, in a nutshell, we got 40 to however you do the numbers,
Yeah,
40, 50% at least tax exempt properties.
yeah,
dead right off the bat.
right off the bat,
Okay, now you got
on our most taxable property.
98,000 plus some people. Now you say, it's a good thing, new people are coming in, but do they all work and have jobs?
And no, they don't. And then they don't
So,
add to the,
Here's the
they don't
bad
have
part.
disposable income.
The assessed value of the city is like this, John. That's not good. That means you're not going up, you're not going down.
Flatline.
Yeah, so what you're doing is you're penalizing the same amount of people.
Right. Well, you're
In
going to
Mill Creek
the,
and Summit, your line is going up like this.
right,
So even though you get a tax increase, it's spread amongst new people and
yeah,
the bigger,
right.
when you got businesses that are paying taxes.
And then they don't have the same services such as fire that
Right.
we do, so their tax rates are gonna be a little bit cheaper.
Then that study said the average household income was about 40+ thousand, which is not a lot of money.
No,
That's the average family income.
right.
The per capita income was like, per person, was like 27,000.
I think
So I mean, that's not good.
I saw something in the newspaper, the, averaging 30% of the kids in the school district are below the poverty
And
line.
that was in that same report.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, so you look at that, John,
Yeah.
and so I ask the average, I ask anybody, what do you do?
We're in trouble.
I mean,
Go ahead, caller.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Are you getting any calls?
We've gotten a couple, yeah, but go ahead.
we love yours though, so go ahead.
You don't have the number flashed on the screen.
Oh, we don't?
Oh,
Oh, no wonder.
Oh, hey, Mike. Oh, there it is. Hey,
There he is. See,
you know what? Speaking it, you heard it.
he heard you.
here's my problem. I've been watching the council budget sessions ever since they've been televised.
Right.
And the last 3 or 4, I won't mention the person's name, but some of them just come there and they show up and don't say a word. Might say 2 words, 10 words. It just irritates me something terrible. You know who they are. I won't mention the names. And one other thing, I got my 2.8% in Social Security. I'm going to be making $49 more. My wife's going to be making $7.30 more, plus my my insurance premiums for having Medicare. That's going up. So where am I gaining anything?
You're not. I felt, I try to point it out that, like, you're getting what, about 58 more bucks, right?
Yep.
Correct?
Yep, you got the county and the city, and what
Well-
else is going up?
Well, let's see. You got what, 58 more bucks, correct?
No, that's the 49 and 7, whatever.
Oh, 7. I thought you said 9, but that's okay.
Right, 49 and 7.
Yeah, so 56 more bucks, and your insurance is probably going up, like you said, right?
Yep.
Medicaid, and then you got to factor in, the county just said, on an average home, did they base it on a $100,000 home? They said $30 for a $100,000 home. School board hasn't come in with their tax yet.
Oh, that'll be fun there.
Yeah, and whatever we do, on the one hand, if we pick the one option, you will, the effect you will have will be minimal, but still, if we charge, because you don't have any income that would be taxable, because you got, Social Security or, do you have pension?
Yes, small.
Yeah, that would not be taxed under the income tax rule. But if we charge you sewer and garbage, that's going to go up probably $60. Let's say 60 or 70, the two of them, or any combination. So for you, that's the best option. If we're not planning to tap real estate,
Well,
but the income tax is going to hurt, the people that are working actually. So I mean, there's no good options anywhere we look, and we can't. Nobody wants services cut.
Guys.
Nobody's willing to give nobody here, as you saw on TV, wanted to put up. Nobody wanted to give up a pay for 1 year.
It's just disappointing. The one income tax, I mean, people like this gentleman, there's a lot of people that are on
Yeah.
the fixed income. We got to stop tax. It's tight to begin with. And the fact that we can't reach the people with the income tax from the county that come here to work
Yeah.
is very disappointing.
We need tax reform.
Because they're the ones with the really good jobs,
Well, yeah.
with the really nice houses that can afford it.
And they take the income tax. We don't even get the income tax.
Okay, no, I don't want to criticize anybody that's in politics, but some of these people, like in City Hall,
Yeah.
federal government, they don't know what it's like to work out in the real private sector.
There probably is a good number. I pointed out that before I came to City Hall. That's what I did. I worked one place where I didn't get a raise for 7 years, and you know what it was? Very simple. We were in the retail business, and I was the accountant. I knew how much we just didn't make enough money that raises were on the option.
It wasn't.
We didn't make enough revenue. We didn't sell enough stuff. So the boss was very simple about it. No raises unless, you increase sales. That's how it works in the,
Wasn't that one of your guys' issues that you were talking, raises for the
for the non-bargaining, yeah.
what was your opinion on that?
Well, when they suggested raising council salary and all that, I said no. Because if I'm going to ask other people to give up, I have to be able to give up myself.
One day last summer, there was a water authority truck came over. The water authority came over on the corner to do some repairs. They came in a big step van, then another pickup truck came, and everybody got into one truck. I swear on a stack of Bibles, they sat there for almost 2.5 hours to 3 hours doing nothing. And finally the backhoe came, or the truck came with the compressor with the air hammer. Mm-hmm. Dug up a little stuff. Oh, then it was dinner time, and they left for dinner. I didn't check to see how long they were gone, but there's another thing. You'd never get away with that in the private sector.
No, because, it's amazing. I talk to people where in the private sector, they even track where you drive now.
Yep.
There's no trips to the, you got to justify everything you do. I don't want to be a meanie, but I don't know where we're going to get the money. I really don't. I mean, when you got declining population, and even that report said we got more aging in the city and the county.
I don't know if you know how the Medicare prescription plan works, but they call it a donut hole.
Yeah, my mother, I had to.
Every January, I can't think of the word. Every January, we have to pay out of our pockets about $500 for the medication for my wife.
You mean your deductible, like?
Yeah. Then for about 2 or 3 months, we have to pay that much for her medication. And thank God I get my medication through the VA, and it doesn't cost me a penny, but...
But you earned that, though.
Pardon?
I said you earned that,
Well, yeah, I guess.
I mean, nobody debates, hey, from a fellow veteran, you're not going to get any, you earned that,
To this day, there should be a law. Once you reach a certain age, you should not have to pay school taxes.
Well, they got a weird system in Virginia.
I'm 86 years old, and I'm still paying school taxes.
They actually have a system in Virginia that kind of is like that.
Virginia, we need it in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, what they do, they freeze, you don't get away from it, but what happens is they freeze your taxes when you're retired. You don't pay any more, and that's how it stays, as long as you don't make income above a certain amount in the household. And my father-in-law loved it, but we could do that. We're going to have to find another way to get the money, though, but I think that's fair. I mean, when you get to a certain age, like my mother, or I don't know your age, but
86.
I mean, there comes a time when, hey, you know what? You need a little break.
somebody talk.
But I appreciate your comments. You know, people have to understand, when you got good health benefits, you should thank God every night, because you know what it is not to have them.
Yeah.
And even the VA, I mean, you know, you have to work hard to get them there sometimes.
Okay, I'll let somebody else talk. Yeah, guys, have a happy holiday.
You too.
I don't talk to you sooner.
Okay, we'll
Yeah,
talk
it
to you soon.
reminds me, I was at the VA yesterday,
Uh-huh.
and the Soldiers and Sailors Home, we went around with the American Legion.
Did some Christmas stuff.
Yeah, the state came in, the state officers, a couple of national officers.
Good.
Man, you know, you go out there and people come up to me, I thought I was gonna fall under the curtain. They recognized who I was.
Really?
And, you know, they're sitting in there, you would think they have more important things to do.
Yeah, right.
And you should hear some of the questions they asked me.
Really?
And, you know, it's like that gentleman there.
Yeah.
They're scared.
They should be scared.
And I'm scared because I look and I go, you know, I gotta probably vote on a bond issue that's gonna, you know, extend the debt, but
What about
going forward, I'm telling you, I'm putting them on notice that, I plan on putting a lot of resolutions in this year, and I gotta help her with Liz, you know, Liz Ellen. And I think the two of us are gonna start putting some stuff in for studies that, you know, we start looking at how we do things around here, because,
You're going to have to.
well, I mean, you know what? We keep kicking that big giant tomato can down the road.
What about going into the reserve funds? What is our reserve?
Well, we talked about, that's up for discussion. There's a danger there. We have money, okay?
Yeah.
It's anywhere from 11 to 13 million, okay, depending on, we're still, remember, we still use some at the end of the, what happens, John?
Then do you still do the borrow in July thing?
No. And that's been, I will give credit to the mayor, Joe Sinnott, for that.
Okay.
When Joe came in, we took the money that, like when the end of the year, if we got money left over, it just doesn't, you know, it goes back into each fund that it belongs to. The general fund, the risk management fund.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's a slush fund. What happens is, in January, when you don't collect real estate, like we know when we're gonna collect real estate and income tax. We have statistical analysis, history.
Yeah.
We know we collect, like for instance, we know we collect roughly 90% of our real estate. Been that way for, you know,
Right.
I mean, that's a, you know, we know that. So what happens is, in the past, we would, if we didn't have reserve funds, we had to take what you call a TRAN note. That was a short-term borrowing note with interest, which was,
Right.
you know, it was high.
Yeah.
And so, you know, Joe Sinnott came in and he stopped it.
I hate borrowing money.
No, and that's why when he did that, okay, we stopped, that's why if you dip in now, you gotta be careful. That come the beginning of the year, after we vote the new budget in, you're not gonna collect that money right away from day one. So you gotta have some money that's left over to get you through those months. That's why you have that reserve fund.
What bank does the city do business with?
We do business, well, not being a controller, I couldn't tell you right now, but we do business with different banks.
Okay.
And they do, you know, they do take, you know, they contact with them. You know, we do bid them out.
Okay.
And so different companies, different banks offer us different things.
Different rates on
Yeah,
our,
for instance, the pension funds used to be locally. They're now held in trust out of town.
when are those due for?
Because we got a better deal.
Say that again?
We used to trustee our pension funds
Right.
in a local bank,
Okay.
PNC, you know.
PNC.
So, yeah, what happened was, another bank from a neighboring city come in with a better rate, you know, all around. So what we did was we went that direction.
Okay.
It was best for the funds, you know.
Okay. When are those up for rebid? How
What's
often? Those contracts and
I'd have to check for you, John.
when are the city, you know, the banks that we do business, the city does business with, when are those contracts up?
They rotate a lot of times. Just like our union contracts, they rotate year to year.
Now, are the interest rates usually increased when you guys go through the bidding process?
Well, it's strange. When I was on the school board, we used to get a chart every week. This is strange. And whenever the school district had, when I say this, don't take it away. When we had $1 million laying around for some to come in, like you got a grant or you got a windfall of money from the state or something, we would always, call the banks up
Right,
and find a place to park it.
right,
And you would see the rates. It was amazing. Banks would fluctuate. Some wanted the money, some didn't. It's hard to believe they didn't want it, but some banks don't consider $1 million a lot of money,
right.
to give you a good rate. So, yeah, we do shop, and we constantly, like the finance director, it's an everyday. We don't have to stay with them by contract, okay? We, parking money would be, anytime we get a chance, if somebody's paying a better rate, we could move it,
Why don't you guys try that?
Well, we do. He's on the phone all the time. He has his people.
Paul?
Yeah, his people do call up, because interest rates right now is a challenge. You were lucky over the last couple of years if you could get 1% on your money, even the money we had.
Yeah.
So we're constantly looking at, and like when you're talking about trusteeing money, what are the fees they charge you, for managing that
What
money?
you need to do is go to these banks that we have our money in and say, we're going to borrow this money, and if you charge us interest rates.
Well, it's interesting. When I was controller, we used to have these discussions about, we would get charged like fees, and my job was to call them and say, really, you got at the time we had like 190 million. Let's say, when I was there, we had 190 million in the pension funds. Okay, I said, really, 190 million, and you're nickel diming us?
What?
And sometimes the bank were reactive.
Right, I was going to ask a question.
Go ahead.
Can't remember. Now, when you send the money to these banks, okay, I would definitely start playing these guys against one another. What is the interest rate
Well, we do.
on these bonds that you're paying?
Well, when you do that process there, when you like right now, the bond issue we're thinking about doing, we've already had a bond consultant. You have to have one, a bond attorney and
That
all
writes like Roger Richards,
Well,
like
we
that similar.
use,
Well, that's state.
yeah, we've used like Knox Law Firm.
Oh, okay.
Okay, they're proficient in that. And then what you have to do is get a bond agent, somebody that's familiar with it, that takes you through the process. Marketing them and finding the banks that can market them at the right rate. So it's not that we don't do it, John. We do it. In fact, when I was on the school board and we did a bond issue for, prior to East High School, we were fixing a lot of the schools up.
Well, I mean, what are the
We
rates?
bought like 20 of them in there, and we said, sharpen up your pencils, tell us what it is.
What is the interest rate that we pay on a bond, on a typical bond?
I'll get it for you out of the book, and we can show it next week. We have an aging report, shows you the payments. Now, remember, the thing with a bond is you can estimate it, but until you actually take it out for sale, okay, until you actually sell it, you don't know what you're gonna get, okay? That's why your bond agent will work with you and tell you what he thinks he can get out there. Because they have to sell them. Remember, a bond has to be sold
Right.
to investors.
Yeah.
And if you can't sell it, So, I mean, there's a lot. It's not like we don't do it, John. We're very proactive there. But right now, it's a challenging market, You're lucky to get any interest.
Wow.
I mean, that's the bad part.
And when I saw it the other day, was it yesterday I read it?
Because we don't have $1 million laying around here anywhere,
No.
It's all, you're looking for where you can get the best rate,
Yeah. And there's going to be a $25 million problem in a couple of years. You better, well, at least you and, I mean.
Well, the problem is if things don't change, if we don't get more business locating here, more people moving in town, more investment, this is why the next couple of years, and I, you know, I hope the mayor is sincere. And, you know, thanks to Carl at the county,
Yeah.
we're gonna all have to work together on some severe problems. You know,
Well, Carl, and Anderson and the rest of these guys, you guys got to work together. Go ahead, caller.
Let's freeze the negotiated pay raise for the union members.
well, the trouble is, John,
That's just sarcasm.
yeah, I know, we go to arbitration, John, and that's the problem. I mean, you know,
The city's owe for arbitration against them.
well, you know,
You have people sitting on there that never negotiated or had a real budget. You got 3 people who think it's all wine and roses.
well, I'm afraid that in the future, you know, I still got 3 empty lots next to my house. And you got a few up by your house too.
Yes, I got a big one I tried to buy from the city. They wouldn't sell it
Why is that?
because I wanted to put a pizza shop up there.
On that piece of property?
Yeah, that corner lot. It's like a triangle.
Yeah.
It goes up Page Street, goes in off of Fargo.
Are you sincere you want to build a piece of shop?
I did back then.
Not now, though.
Not now. There's too many of them around.
You know, now we got well, the Alerta, if we do that, that would have helped you. And we have small business loans that would have helped you.
Maybe I should put a Dairy Queen in there. There's a lot of profit in Dairy Queens.
Yeah, but you got one right up to,
True, but whatever. But
Well, it could-
I tried to pick up some of that
council? I mean, the budget?
the budget session, and I'll tell you what, that one guy, the one who you wanted to show where he wasn't drawing the permits. You know, it was a complete joke. Why does he get hostile when you're just trying to point out things that are on deaf ears down there at City Hall?
Yeah, if I'm wrong, prove me wrong. But, you know, I got enough people that tell me stuff that, you know, we got people that play the game the right way, and then we got people that don't around, you know.
Yeah, like your finance director down there. I mean, he's saying we need everything. Why do we need everything?
Well, to be fair to him, now here's what he said. Everybody did come in with below the line, what we call, if you look at the budget, John, there's above the line is all the wages and benefits.
True.
Those are pretty much locked, except for the only wiggle room we had was when Liz and I suggested a freeze on non-bargaining people. And I took the same freeze as a council member. I said I was against raising, you know, would I like a raise? Absolutely, everybody does.
You guys are the most underpaid people in the building.
But you know what? But you know what? You have to lead by example. I can't ask people to take a cut when I don't. And so below the line, John, just so you understand, everybody did cut their budget. And below the line is cut. But we were asking them, can we cut a little bit more?
Well, you should always cut a little bit more. You know, when I was doing budgets,
Yeah.
he told me I had $300,000 left. Spend it.
But I don't want you to think he did, you know, he was saying, and he was right to a certain degree, it's pretty tight there, but, you know, we said, look hard and see if there's anything at all you could possibly cut.
Use it or lose it mentality has to.
Well, yeah, but, you know, they have, like I say, they have cut. But the real problem is, you know, going forward, where are we going to get the revenue? You know, you can eliminate some services, but if you're not willing to lay off police, fire, or workers around here,
Did I see that?
where are you really going to, you're going to have to get the money somewhere, you know?
Really surprised me.
What?
Has Joe been sitting in on all the budget sessions?
A little bit, once in a while when he could.
I never noticed that the mayor was sitting in there. What is this? Is this filtering? Like I got you because you didn't go with me or whatever? That's what hits my mind. He wants to see what's going on for retribution down the line. Maybe I'm all wrong.
All I know is this is going to be a real mess. I tell you, we got some tough decisions, one way or the other, to get that kind of money without cuts anywhere. It's got to come out of either, and we're not proposing real estate, so it's got to be income tax, you know, pretty much, or you know, fees can only reflect what what they have to be, like with the garbage and sewer, but these other fees that we're proposing, some of them won't be enacted till next year.
So what?
Pardon?
I mean, so what? It's going to be next year. When's next year?
Well, I mean, like, we can raise, right now, we can legally raise the amusement tax. Some of the other ones that we're proposing that aren't on the books right now are gonna have to be written, and then it's gonna take 2 readings, so they probably won't go in effect until next year. But what I do like I do like the fact that, some of the council members, like, one for sure, Liz, mentioned that some of these things need to be looked at, all these fees.
And you're only going to have 6 votes this year, right?
Yeah, because we're still in the process of,
Replacing a council person.
yeah, we're going through the list. There's going to be questions asked of all the
Well,
prospective.
I don't like the way it's going. I think it should go back to the electorate from when the council people were running and pick the next man. This way it takes politics out of it.
Yeah, it's a shame that's not the law. That's a problem.
I know it's not the law, but I guess it has to be what it has to be. I knew one time I threw my hat in the ring and I said I'd give all the money back.
That would solve the whole problem if the state would pass a law and say that in any election where there is somebody left, that, the next vote getter automatically, that way the public,
If that was the case, Kaz, I would have been on city council 10 years ago. I mean, when Winarski and I
Who would have
ran,
been at this year?
But you know who we got to talk to? Our legislators.
well, you know what the problem is, John, and here's the big problem. And Pat Harkins will tell you, Bobby's gonna find it out, but Bobby knows it too now. How many legislators in Erie County?
5.
Are you sure?
Isn't there?
I thought there was more, but maybe,
Oh, you got
don't count Laughlin, because there's only one senator,
are you talking
you got-
state reps?
state reps. So you got,
Ryan,
who's
Harkins,
that guy out in
Kurt,
the
Son,
northeast?
Kurt Sonny,
you got Roy at one, right?
Yeah.
Kurt Sonny. You have
And then you got
Harkins,
that split one, remember where Crawford County comes up here?
Brad Rowe.
Yeah, isn't there another one where you got that woman that,
Oh, Michelle. What's her
she represents Crawford County, and then she comes up here?
name? Michelle something White or something.
It's a weird thing. It's like 5 or, I would say, John, let's go with 6, just for fun.
Yeah, okay.
It might be actually more, because the way they did that district, we had like an influence from Crawford come up here. So let's say you got 6. How many are from the actual urban core of the city?
2,
Well,
3,
I would say 3.
2,
2,
2, 2, 2.
Well, you got Mursky and Harkins.
right?
Mursky, Harkins, and then Ryan's, Mill Creek.
But, the ones that represent the cities actually is Patrick and Bobby.
Right.
We're up in the northwest corner. They don't care about the northwest corner.
Well, no, but it's the same, I'm going to explain to you, right across the state. So right up here, you have an automatic -4 votes. Okay, would you agree to that?
Yeah.
So now you go to Allegheny County and you take out all the Pittsburgh reps, from the city, and then you count all the reps from around the suburbs. And you do that all around the state, Allentown, Reading, and then you got, out in the middle of Pennsylvania's, very,
Philadelphia.
yeah, but the rest of the state is all rural areas, right? So the votes, they don't care about our problem. So, we're not going to get that kind of political traction.
It's never going to happen because if the guys that live in the rural areas, if they start taxing the nonprofits and churches,
Yeah.
that's their base of support.
And they don't have the problem we have.
Well,
They
you
might have
should make the nonprofits pay for fire and police protection.
Yeah, but under law, we can't demand it right now. We're checking into it, John.
That's
We
the only
we are
way.
looking into it legally, whether we can do it. A lot of the state laws prevent us. Here's the thing, John. If you're in the middle of the state, you might have a hospital, a school, but not the problem we have in the city here with all these social agencies and the courthouse and everything in the same area, and the colleges. And so it gets to be a real hassle. And they don't like it, just a simple thing like income tax. Do you think they'd really want to give up the income tax law the way it is now?
No.
Because Mill Creek gets, everybody in the suburbs gets the tax money from the people that work in the city. Why would they give that up? And that's our problem. We have no way, we're just in a...
We ought to tax sweet drinks, like some of the other cities have.
Yep, we got some, it's going to be a tough one, John.
Well, as long as Liz keeps banging at him and you keep banging on him, but it's going to be a bad year.
Yep, and
Well, we'll let you guys go.
hey, thanks for calling. We got to get off the air, so...
Yeah.
John, do you got anything you want to...
Kaz, just keep at it. I mean, I'm seeing some things up there. Keep working at it. It's good to see you and Liz working together. I think.
Well, I mean, you know what? Hey, politics is about... I learned some watching George Bush the other day. I didn't like him politically. I admit that. I'm not,
Right.
But in the old days, when I was a kid, I remember this. Sam Rayburn would sit there banging his gavel, and they'd be screaming at one another, and you thought all hell was breaking loose. And that night they go out and they have dinner together and have a couple drinks.
Yeah.
Come back, and what happened? They crafted a deal.
Today, what is it? Today's enemy is there's no.
They crafted a deal,
Yeah.
and it's
There's no permanent enemies.
like every one of these members on council.
Politics.
They all got the right to question everything.
Sure.
But we all got to work together. At the end of the day,
Hey.
we can argue and we can have our differences of opinion, but if we can't, at the end of the day, whether Republican, Democrat, whatever we believe in, if we can't get together and make a decision, there's something wrong with that system. And that's what's lacking. I mean, I can remember, as Republicans I've worked with for years,
Yeah.
and some of them helped craft a previous EMTA deal. That didn't come easy,
Right.
but, we sat down together and forgot which side of the aisle we come on, or
In the end, teamwork makes the dream work.
if you respect people and their opinion, there's still room for, I'll end this with what my one teacher told me when I first entered politics, Patsy Ferrito. Where reasonable people meet, reasonable things will happen.
Makes sense. Hit the tunes, Mike.
Thanks, John. See you next week?
Yep, we'll probably.
Probably. I hope we do.
Yeah. God willing.
And
You have been watching Taxpayers Hotline, recorded live from the fabulous city of Erie, Pennsylvania.